Okay, so today we'll be looking at passing real estate from one generation to the other, right? Using still in the series of how do you create generational wealth. So we are looking at passing real estate from one generation to the other. So we've started this series from a couple of days right now, and we've looked at a number of things. So what we are looking at today is how do we pass real estate from one generation to the other? How do we make sure that um, the land you are buying right now in the next 30 years, your children will still be able to benefit from it? And one of the things that sparked the thought of this topic in me was was when the Queen of England died. And while I'm making this video, as I'm making this video, something very funny has happened, which means that the current king, King Charles, has been diagnosed with cancer. So depending on where you are watching this video, I'm not saying he will have died anyway, but has been diagnosed with cancer, and the mom just passed on, which is the queen, and the king is over 70 already, and all of that. So more or less, like a lot of people are saying that very soon there's going to be another king. But while following the death and the coronation, the whole story and all of that, I remember that one of the inheritance of the crown prince, which is the Williams, Prince Williams, was a property about that worth about £1 billion. And it just got me thinking that how has the monarch been able to keep that property in their custody? Because, apologies, so the said property was passed down from King George to Queen Elizabeth and all of that. Now he's passing it down. And that property, in fact, the rent of that property alone, when I did the research, sorry, not the rent, the cash flow that property brings to the coffers of the crown is about, I think, £25 million per annum. Okay. So thinking through it made me to develop this, and that there is a way where how real estate can actually be passed on. I mean, there are properties that family has owned for 800 years, 500 years in some part of the world, and all of those things. But in this part of the world, the black man world, you rarely hear some of these stories, lack of documentation and all of those things. So we're going to be looking at how do you pass real estate down from one generation to the other. So we're looking at how do you manage your real estate, and we'll be looking at how do you pass it down from one generation to the other. So my name still remains Okpeoluwawumi. In case you are wondering or you stumble on this video for the very first time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So number one thing that you do is estate planning. We're talking about real estate right now. Is estate planning. So there is a need for proper estate planning. What do I mean by proper estate planning? Is that all your assets, all the things that you own must be properly planned, and there must be maybe an asset management company that manages all these estates. So estate planning is very important. Proper will, who will get what when you die. Succession planning, right, is very important. Who is taking what place when you die? Who is going to be signatory to what? Who is taking over your shares and all of those things is very important. Structure is very important. What Depending on what assets you are using to build your wealth. So I remember somebody asking me something. I said, see, my goal is to he said his life goal is to start a billion naira company and sell it off, and he wants to do five before he's 50, and will have sold 5 billion, blah blah. He gave me a lot of those plans and all of that. But using it as example, because I don't want to share details, is that what if this guy dies without selling one? Maybe he has sold three, because of selling four, he died. So who is going to take over the shares of those companies? So those are things that we need to constantly be thinking, because debt is inevitable. Because one of the things that disrupt the flow of asset from one generation to the other is death, because we don't really plan for some of these things. And when I was talking about managing generational wealth, succession planning is very important. And I also mentioned using professionals. Okay, so structure is very, very important. What's family structure like? Very, very important. Then on the estate planning too, who are the beneficiaries? Who are the beneficiaries? Who are the beneficiaries? So who gets what? What are they going to be benefiting from? What is very, very important. You spell it out clean, so that everybody knows what they are going to be responsible for upon death, upon transition, and all of those things. And sometimes um, you create some of this structure and you hands off some things even before you die. There are legal ways these things can be done, right? Ownership change hands and all of those things. And so number two is that you can establish a trust. So when you want to pass uh, wealth, your real estate wealth from generation to other, you can decide to establish a trust and you now engrave. So the way the trust work is that um, if I'm the first generation, I establish a trust. All our assets is being managed is under the trust. So the trust manage the asset, and I list all my children as beneficiary to the trust. So they call most of those child trust fund child. So there's money whether they work or not, they keep making money. So they have options, they have head start, they'll be able to do what they are passionate about and all of those things. And I mean, there's always a structure behind the trust fund. Even the when I die, for instance, now the trust fund will be taken over by somebody, and those ones too will administer this trust fund, which will be taken over by somebody else. They will hand over the trust fund. So basically, that is the way this thing works. So you can establish a trust, and they will help you to manage your real estate assets. Even there are companies that are run by trusts right now. Okay, so establishing a trust is very, very important. If you need, that's why having a professional in your team is one of the most important thing that you can get to do. Having a professional in your team is very, very important. You don't want to joke with that, so that they'll give you a top-notch guide and professional guidance. Okay. Number three is explore gifts. Explore gifting. One of the things a lot of people do, or in this part of the world, we call it the deed of gift, because of inheritance tax. So a lot of people do deed of gifts to avoid tax, and sometimes some people do it when they are still alive, so that it's not when you died and now needs to pay a arm and a leg before they're able to even enjoy the inheritance that you feel that you passed down to them. And even in some cases, they are not even able to even enjoy that which you have passed down to them. Okay, so it really, really depends. So you need to find a way to manage such, right? It's very, 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 very important. So we need to look for a way to manage such. So how do I manage my assets in such a way that I can pass it down from one generation to the other without the generation losing it to tax, without the generation losing it to authorities and all of those things. So deed of gift is one thing that you can explore. Number four is that tax loopholes. A lot of yes, it might look like the deed of gift, but it's a little bit different because countries differ from countries. I mean, the laws in Nigeria, you can, for instance, somebody was asking when I would buy a property one time, and they were asking them, so how did you own this property? And the guy was like, it's my father's land. What's the evidence that it's your father's land? What's even the evidence that you are the son of your father? The guy was just shouting and raking and all of those things. So, what are the tax implications of owning property? So, the laws in Nigeria might be weak, but there are some laws that are quite strong too. So, you need to know the tax implications of transferring properties, taking over a properties, or managing a properties. So all these things are very, very important. So in passing your estate, you need to know what are the tax implications, because sometimes tax eats wealth away. Tax eats wealth away. Okay. Then lastly, but not the least, is documentation and paper records. And this is by far one of the most important things that needs to be done, and we need to really pay a lot of attention to. So documentation and record keeping, detailed record keeping. I was sharing the story with A friend of mine, I was saying that, do you know that there are properties in GRA, Oyi, that the owners have passed on, the children are in UK, the lawyer is just collecting money, gallivant. I mean, we've had stories of um, property managers that are just gallivanting on other people's property. There are even children that don't even know where their father's assets are, properties are, and all of those things because there was no proper record keeping. And of course, polygamous issue too, and all of those things. I remember I I once had a story of someone that was close to me that the man died. The first wife was naive, didn't know where the property document was and all of those things. The man had a mistress, and the mistress knows where the property was, the document of the property, and he picked it up, send all the, I mean, legitimate children, send them out, the legal wives, send them out, and he took over the property. Took over the property. So you just need to be wise. That's basically the short and the long of the story. Okay, so documentation and proper record keeping is very, very important. Seek the guidance of professionals. Okay, my name still remains Okpe Oluwaoni. I believe you've been able to pick one or two things from all that I've shared, and I hope you find them useful as we are creating wealth, as we are in this journey of wealth creation. I hope and I believe that you find all these things useful and you will not regret embarking on this journey. Bye for now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.